fantastic 20-minute showdown over this morning as well. It's myself, Zach Sweeney, in the commentary booth, and when Jack Rowell wanders his way up here after concluding the post-race interviews, we'll have him as well to talk you through the next 20 minutes of racing. Quick reminder as to how things ended up earlier on. 16 laps of racing action. Ben Colburn was able to take a fairly uncomfortable victory from Nicky Taylor and Dara Flock. A last lap pass for the 17 saw him take P2 ahead of the 22 of Flock. Those were the top three. Those were the ones to watch, and what a fantastic race that they were able to put on all the way through. Dara Flock took the fastest lap, with Ben Jenkins and Jeremy Evans the top five, and rounding off the field. A short grid, granted, with the Clios, but I think they've basically got 5 of the 6 chassis that the Mark V Phase 2 of the Renault Clio has brought into the UK. Of course, a full grid over it in Clio Cup Europe, but here for Great Britain, we've got quality, not necessarily quantity as of yet. But it is fantastic to see more and more cars join to the field, but it has been great action. There you can see the fantastic cars in of themselves. Just a pan of all 5 that are going to be taking to the track. The front 3 that you can see there, the yellow, that's Nicky Taylor. The blue and the black, that's Dara Flock. And the all white, that is of course of Ben Colburn, our race 1 winner. Be interesting to see how we get on in terms of race number 2. As I say, 20 minutes on the clock of action, and we become a penultimate race before the lunch break, and then we had 24 hours of the Enduro KA, the spotlight of the weekend, the true test in terms of endurance racing. So stick around, because there's plenty of action here to watch. If you are watching along, of course, on the live stream, let me know who you're supporting. If you're watching along as family, friends, who are you cheering on for? Who's the one to watch? And what do you think of Anglesey? Because this is my first time here in Wales. It's my first time out of the UK for commentary, and it's been an absolute fantastic experience. I'm from Norfolk originally, so the hills have definitely been a bit of a surprise, it must be honest. But driving here, it's been absolutely fantastic. Coming here, the view from the commentary box is fantastic as well. It's a very aesthetically pleasing circuit, and the racing as well has been nothing short of fantastic. Just waiting for the cars to be cleared from the holding area to then bring them out onto circuit for a formation lap, and then to the grid for, as I say, 20 minutes showdown for their second and final race of the weekend. And eyes all to the 55, the 22 and the 17. Of course, we were speaking to Nicky Taylor, well, we spoke to all 3 of them in fairness, but to Nicky Taylor in particular when it comes to the brake bias, learning the new car, because of course it is a new car to the UK, and of course Anglesey, a new track car combination, so they've been trying to rely on a lot of data from the Euro Clear Cup drivers, and in fact Nicky Taylor has got one with him, able to sort of relay that information with him and dial back the brake balance, because we saw on the opening lap a huge mistake going into Rocket In, locking that rear right, which we've seen Taylor do pretty much all weekend long through qualifying into race 1. But in fairness, that was just a little bit too much. So adjusting the brake bias, how much braking force the front axle does relative to the rear axle, just to tone it in a little bit better so that he can sort of handle the car a little bit to more his liking and be a bit more competitive. Because after that mistake, he was able to then close in more and more to the front 2, and in the end was able to close in enough to find his way past the 22 of Dara Flock, who's going to be eager to make amends on race 1 there, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dara, he knows what he's doing. He's no stranger to close racing and potentially fighting back through the order as well. So keep an eye on Dara throughout this race. Of course, starting in P2, Ben Colburn, Westport Motorsport teammate, lining up on pole position alongside on that front row. Nicky Taylor, what can he do about the start? Because you may remember at the start of race 1, he lit up the front axle and left a big trail of smoke behind him. So hopefully nothing such will befall him in race 2. And we may see somehow an even closer race 2 as well. Just having a brief look at the weather radar that we've got here. We're safe for, well, lunch break. So as soon as we break for lunch break, it may start to just rain very slightly. So we will have to keep an eye on that throughout the lunch break. But for me, I'm going to say Dara for this one, because I think he'll be more motivated than ever to get that win that he very nearly had in race 1.
I think so. I think pace-wise, Dara Flock has definitely got it under wraps. We're just waiting for one of the Porsche Club cars to be cleared from the circuit, and then hopefully we should be able to get racing once again. Good news is that we're ahead of schedule, so we aren't eating into too much time by having a slight delay. Thanks, of course, to the very efficient trackside team here at Anglesey, because, of course, without the Orange Army, we couldn't go racing at all. We're very grateful to each and every single one of them. And of course, they're now coming into the pit lane into Parc Fermé, so it shouldn't be too much longer until we get some Clios out on circuit. But like I said, we've only got 5 cars on track, but we don't need any more than that. The top 3 have been doing all the fighting, and it's been absolutely fantastic to see. Also with Jenkins and his progress, because session on session, lap on lap, he's finding more and more time.
Yeah, he seems to be bonding with that car ever more. Again, a circuit that he may not have raced at or had much time at prior to this weekend. So it's nice to see the drivers themselves really start to evolve, let alone the circuit and the cars throughout this weekend. So there's still plenty more pace to find, I'm sure, for some of them. And some of them, they may think they're already there. They go, I can't go quicker than that. And then, as you say, it could just be a quick chat with a Clio Cup Europe driver or somebody that has experiences in these Clios, or maybe has a slightly different outlook on how to handle the car. It might not necessarily be immediately constructive, but it's something that the drivers can work at and can start to experiment with, and we may see yet more pace found by a lot of the drivers. Of course, all of the cars running a fabulous Michelin tyre, so they seem to be very sturdy indeed. Looking at Nicky Taylor's car, after the first race, we saw plenty of rear locking, and immediately Ben Colburn lighting up the front axle to surge some temperature into the front of these cars. And that's what you have to do, because we know how stiffly sprung they are. Cold tyres on a stiffly sprung car can be a very scary prospect, so surging temperature into the tyres and into the brakes is so valuable.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, you'll see them weaving around. That's more to help with the surface temperature of the tyre, but ideally they really want to be warming up the internal carcass. That's really what matters more. The surface temperature is more for short-term temperature changes. The internal is what's going to be benefiting for them over the duration of the race. They'll also see them sort of accelerate and brake. That's not only to get some temperature into the brakes, but also to hopefully use some of that air to warm up the internal carcass temperature of the tyre as well. There you can see the weather. It's been a steady 15 degrees all day. It's quite toasty up here in the commentary box. Little bit of cloud cover. I know it was drizzling earlier on my drive in, but nothing really to be too worried about. It's just been overcast cloud cover. In fairness, actually perfect track conditions.
Yeah, this is now exactly where you'd want it to be. The track has had plenty of rubber laid down on it throughout this morning and into the afternoon. It's seen hot and cold conditions, so the drivers will have been able to adapt to that. Of course, they have experienced the circuit this morning, both in qualifying and in the race. So arguably, this is now the closest we're going to see them, because any changes of setup will have been made, any changes of pressures, anything like that. But of course, they know who to watch out for now. They know the circuit. They will have potentially a bit more of the circuit with them by way of cooler temperatures, potentially a bit more grip. The car will run slightly better as well in the cooler temperatures. So I've got a feeling we're in for a brilliant Clio Cup GB race.
I'm looking forward to it, because race 1 was so good. If Nicky Taylor can sort out his starts, which when I was speaking to him down in Parc Fermé, he said he was going to. He sort of knows where he went wrong and what he can do to adjust it. If he can do that, we're going to straight away hit the ground running with a 3-car fight for the lead, and hopefully that's going to continue throughout the duration of the entirety of the race, because yeah, these guys, I can't emphasize it enough just how good race number 1 was, just how raceable Anglesey is, and of course these Clios as well. They're just such raceable cars. They really, work well in terms of going side by side, and you can see now they stop and then load up the revs to really spin those front tyres, get that friction, get that temperature into the tyres before they sit stationary on the grid. Yeah. So they want to make sure they're not going to be stone cold by the time the lights go out.
Yeah, one thing to bear in mind as well, Ben Colburn hasn't got a long wait at the front of the grid, so he will keep as much temperature in those tyres as he's built up throughout that green flag warming up lap. Green flag wave, 5-second board held aloft. The red lights will go on now. Who gets the best start as the red lights go out? And it's a good start from Ben Colburn. Dara Flock spins the front axle, leaves a big trail of smoke behind him. That immediately allows Nicky Taylor to dive his way to the inside. They're side by side by the time they arrive at turn 1. Nicky Taylor just about finds the space for second place, but all over the grass too quick through turn 1 on cold rubber. That throws him all over the grass. So Ben Colburn remains in the lead of the race. Then it's Dara Flock in second, Ben Jenkins in third. Nicky Taylor has recovered to fourth, and then it is Jeremy Evans sat there in 5th place, but an early mistake from Nicky Taylor once again, unfortunately.
That's going to be a big disparity in temperature from the front to the rears, I'd fear, because of course all the focus is on the front tyres, but that sort of imbalance on the rears got slidey. He went up the inside, obviously on the dirtier side of the circuit as well, so got a bit of a snap and went off onto the exit. Able to keep going though, is still there in P4, but a big lockup once again, as we've been seeing from Taylor all weekend long. So this is so far a steady lead for Ben Colburn, because of course Dara Flock lost time fighting with Nicky Taylor, so he's dropped back a little bit. That 55, at least for the opening couple of laps, is going to have a nice easy run.
Yeah, and at least for Ben Jenkins as well, he's got the opportunity to follow those cars on the road, and maybe you might think, oh, they're turning in slightly later than I am, or slightly earlier. They're braking at a different point, placing the car in a different section of circuit. So it could be very much a learning process for Ben Jenkins as well. So that may initially throw him out of his rhythm, but he will start to see that pay dividends as the race goes on. So over the line, Ben Colburn takes the first lap in the book, well and truly in the lead of the race by over a full second of Dara Flock. Then it is Ben Jenkins that is now in third place. Nicky Taylor will be giving chase in fourth place, and Jeremy Evans crossed the line in fifth. Fastest lap of the race from race leader Ben Colburn on 1 minute 22.752. We've seen these cars down into the 1 minute 19, so yet more time to come for Ben Colburn and co. But Dara Flock at the moment, he's effectively in a bit of free air, because he's got the option now. Does he fight forward and try and catch onto the coattails of Ben Colburn, or does he hold station? I think we may see a very race one-esque drive from Dara Flock. Slowly unlock a bit more pace, where at a comfortable rate, so the car's not uncomfortable doing so. Nicky Taylor, another massive lock up in towards Rocket In. But Dara Flock, if he just slowly starts to lose that pace out of the car from the end of the race, could be on the coattails of his teammate.
That's really impressed at the moment with Jenkins and his drive, of course, really keeping in touch with the front two. I mean, we did see a small mistake going into Rocket In on that particular occasion. And again, a slightly mistake makes there, because he's got Nicky Taylor on the inside of him as they begin the descent towards the corkscrew. Let's see what the 17 can do. Surely not going to try and commit to the outside through the corkscrew. Thankfully, he doesn't. He can bide his time. But then again, can he? Because if he wants any chance of closing back in on Dara Flock and Ben Colburn, he needs to dispatch of the 99 as soon as possible, because 20 minutes, it's a long time, but at the same time, it's really not.
Yeah, it is indeed, but that lead margin, which was 1.1 seconds, is down to 0.695 of a second between Ben Colburn and Dara Flock. 1 minute 16.941, the fastest lap of the race, set by Dara on that previous lap. So he's really starting to close in on his Westbourne Motorsport stablemate at the moment. Ben Jenkins is busy fighting away with Nicky Taylor, so that will be music to the ears of Ben Colburn and Dara Flock. Of course, the top three, all from the Westbourne Motorsport garage now, so we'll just start to see potentially working together, barring Ben Jenkins, of course, pardon me. So Ben Jenkins is from LDR Performance Tuning, so the two Westbourne Motorsport cars running away, and a big lunge from Nicky Taylor, locks the rear axle. That effectively spits the front of the car in quite nicely. Position made. Very committed move from Nicky Taylor.
Yeah, right on the limit, of course, not going to be doing his tyres any good. Of course, again, he was saying about flat spots and things. Basically, when the tyre locks, it stops rotating, and the friction, the car's still moving, so it does scrape off a decent chunk. An extreme measure would be going from like a 10p coin to a 50p coin, effectively, is what the tyres are doing. And you get vibrations, the tyres don't grip as well, so hopefully not going to be quite as extreme as that one. Fight for the lead, though, as they emerge from the final corner. Less than, well, pretty much half from when we last saw it. It's gone from 0.6 to 0.3 of a second. Another fast lap from Dara Flock. You said he was going to chip away at that gap. I think he's taken a healthy chunk that lap.
Yeah, he's not really chipping away at all, is he? He's there. Ben Colburn will start to feel the pressure now. Absolutely nose to tail on the run through the banking. Then it's along the short straight before we arrive at Church, and the car's just sort of bouncing away on their way into Church. And yeah, it was like that slight hesitation on the brakes for Dara on the run through Church, but it's really helped him on the exit, because gaining, draws himself alongside. It will be the inside for the slight right kinks on the run up towards Rockyton. The position may even be made by the time we get there. Yes, it will be on the brakes coming from the very outside. Dara Flock very well sort of... It was a performed move, wasn't it? He sort of read that situation absolutely perfectly, got himself into the lead before he even had to worry about defending.
Slow in, fast out of Church really helped him there. Of course, you can see how stiffly sprung the cars are, of course, with their foot close on the brake pedal. Any installation, just shake their foot a little bit, it does make them tap it. That's not them purposely trying to brake, or at least we don't think so. So, of course, that was a fantastic move then from Dara Flock, just to back off into Church, get that exit coming out, use the slipstream, have that slingshot, and then get the move done by the time they reach the braking zone of Rocket In. Ben Colburn, of course, didn't really want to fight it too much. Probably could have, maybe if it was the last lap, maybe he would have. But that last lap, 9/10 of a second taken out Dara Flock on Ben Colburn, a 16.8 that last time by, which is absolutely rapid, matching his fastest lap of race one.
Yeah, Dara Flock has got the bit between his teeth now, and he's got the clean air, albeit he is now applying the aerodynamic assistance onto the nose of Ben Colburn, so we may see Ben Colburn not fall away quite as quickly as you'd expect. They are still there or thereabouts. Nicky Taylor, again, he's not exactly pulling away from Ben Jenkins, having made that position a couple of laps ago, so keep an eye on Ben Jenkins if he can pounce towards the latter stages of this race by way of a very late move in towards the podium places. Jeremy Evans is going through and continuing just to work away at his lap times, but fabulously consistent as we saw in race one. Ben Colburn slightly quicker through that section of circuit than Dara Flock through Rocket in and Rocket out. However, now all swings back the way of Dara. This is where he's quick. That slightly more complex section heading in towards the corkscrew.
Yeah, exactly. This is really where you can sort of, as a driver, make or break, just having a bit more courage to chuck the car in. Of course, you're downhill as well with front-wheel drive. All of the weight is on that front axle. Then couple that with downhill. There's virtually nothing on that rear axle, which means you really can sort of get a bit of a slide on, get that rotation, and that's what they're going to be using to assist them, of course, in pursuit of lap time. At the moment, though, Dara Flock has it under wraps. I think this just shows probably how powerful Slipstream is, really, because the closing speed of Flock on Colburn has now been reversed. That Colburn's now doing the same thing to the 22.
Yeah, so we're starting to see another little aspect of Clio Cup GB and the new Gen 5 Phase 2 cars as we look down the back straight. Dara Flock is doing what he can to run away from Ben Colburn, but Ben Colburn in turn is not falling away out of the aerodynamic assistance. That's keeping him in tow. Big lock up that time from Nicky Taylor. He does get the car slowed down by the time they get to the apex, and it's not that the top two are battling. I think Nicky Taylor is just starting to reel in those cars up the road. Last time through, 1 minute 16.894. The only driver into the 16.8s last time through. Flock and Colburn, both 16.9s.
Fantastic stuff there from Nicky Taylor, but how big? Well, it's a 2.5 second gap to Ben Colburn. If he's only doing a 1/10 of a second a lap, it's going to take him an eternity to close in, especially as we're closing in towards half distance of this race already. Short and sharp, 20-minute sprint races for Clio Cup of GB. Dara Flock from Ben Colburn, Nicky Taylor. Let's see what the lap times are this time through. 17 dead for Flock, 17.1 for Colburn, 16.9 going the way of Nicky Taylor. So it's quicker, it's just not quick enough. I think he does need the top two to battle just a little bit, like what happened in race 1, if he really wants to contend for the lead.
Yeah, we'll wait and see as to exactly how Ben Colburn approaches that one, because arguably he's the one in the driving seat now. He decides whether they battle, whether they hold station, and I'm sure they are chatting to the team, just letting them know exactly what is going on and whether they will or won't be battling. But for the moment, Nicky Taylor, they're in 3rd place. It was a very similar situation in race 1. What can they do about making it happen again in race 2? Another big lock-up from Nicky Taylor on the run in towards Rocket in. Ben Jenkins will be thinking, yeah, I'm all right, I probably won't do that. In 4th place, Jeremy Evans again lapping very consistently, but lapping quicker than he has done all race, with 1 minute 20.315. So Jeremy Evans continuing to improve behind the wheel of his Clio Cup car. But for the moment, Dara Flock in the lead of the race. He's just controlling that pace. He's got 11 minutes before he should see that checkered flag, but Ben Colburn is not going away, is he?
No, he's not. And again, it's been really the theme pretty much all day long in terms of not being close enough to really do much physically unless you get a really good run out of Church, but just being close enough, so much so that should anything go wrong to the driver in front, you're applying that pressure to them and sort of forcing their hand. They're constantly having to check their mirrors, constantly looking behind them and sort of, you know, sometimes being distracted, not overly focusing on having 100% quick pace. But also so much so that, you know, you're not actually throwing any risk in terms of actually having to go for much of an overtake. At 10 minutes 26 on the clock, we are approaching half distance in this race. Dara Flock, Ben Colburn, Nicky Taylor, the top 3 as they have been since the start. And Colburn is there, but how eager is he going to be on a move on Dara Flock? Because, of course, they have got to be mindful of the looming threat that is Nicky Taylor, because if they go for a move, if they fight too early, then Nicky Taylor is going to straight away come into the limelight and they'll have a repeat of race 1. Yeah,
Ben Colburn, he's starting to come back on song now, isn't he, with that 16.884. He's just getting that little bit closer to Dara and remaining with Thorn in the side. It's great to see that teammates don't just have team orders and they're told exactly where to put the car. They will race and they will fight for their relative positions and points, of course, that are on offer. Dara will want to get one over on his teammate, as I think that the greatest rival you will ever have in motorsport will be your teammate, because you can directly compare yourself to them, whether it be with data or sort of visually on track. And Dara, with what happened in race 1, he'll want to make sure he's on the top step this time.
Yeah, exactly. As a racing driver, I mean, funnily enough, that's exactly what they're vying for. Every time they get onto circuit, it's to win the race. He came so close in race 1, but of course not quite close enough. And doing so, he's now sort of fueled the fire. He's got that motivation, he's got that grit. What a fantastic move it was to get the race lead initially, but now it's the even trickier task of keeping it. That gap is very slow. I think we might have a look potentially into Rockyton. I think he's a bit too far back for a late lunge, but the gap is closing. Yeah,
clever driving from Ben Colburn, because you could see he was getting closer, but I think he realised, if I go for this, it's going to be a late lunge, and if it doesn't work out, that is my teammate. So you could just see him tap the brake just to sort of try and communicate with Dara. This isn't happening, not this time. Maybe soon, but maybe not just quite yet. So Dara will have seen that. Ben Colburn still giving chase. Nicky Taylor's falling away. It's been floating around about 2.5 seconds. It's up to 2.6 now, so I don't think Nicky Taylor will have much left in this. He'll be begging the two Westbourne Motorsport cars to fight just that little bit harder up the road as we look towards the final corner. There go the top two. Nicky Taylor then comes through. Turn 1, a very deceptive corner. It draws you in early. The exit curb arrives very quickly. So too it does heading through turn 4 at Church, the very quick right hand that you can turn into early, and all of a sudden you find the exit curb, and we've seen that throughout this weekend, and that's what I think I like about Anglesey, because it's a very, I don't want to say simple circuit, because it really isn't. It is very complex. I think simple to the untrained eye, so to speak. You look and go, oh, well, it's just a left turn. No, there's so much more. There's elevation change, there's camber, and of course, then you've got just the slight aspects of it's slightly blind. It's not fully blind, but slightly blind, and that's enough just to throw a driver off pace.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at the track map, you'd look at that and think, well, yeah, it's a simple circuit, easy as that. Looks like a go-kart track. But then you come here and you see all the undulations and the oscillations in terms of bumps on circuit and everything that you have to do, and it is very exactly the beautiful view. I mean, as a racing driver, who's focusing on driving when you've got the sea? Like, who cares about driving? Who cares about winning? You can look out the window. Great view.
Well, I mean, we get the best view at the house over here in the commentary box, so you'll have to stop us from looking out the window, I'm sure, during the 24-hour race. Oh, yeah, that's over there now. But through the final corner comes Dara Flock. Ben Colburn still giving chase. So too is Nicky Taylor. 2.6 second turn to 2.3. This time 2.2. I take it back. Nicky Taylor's closing.
Yeah, he is bit by bit. Of course, look at that. It's enough that again. I don't think he's going to close it by himself. He's not quick enough to do that. No offense to Nicky Taylor, he's doing a really good job as to close the gap, but it's not enough. He needs Colburn and Flock to battle, to go side by side, at least for a couple of corners, because once he's in the slipstream, easy as that, I think he'll really much be there. But because he's off the back a little bit, he's not latched on to the two in front, and that means that he can only run at the maximum of his pace and not what the two in front of him are running. The moment that battle for the lead takes place, he'll be right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So picking their way through Rockyton once again. Nicky Taylor arrives on the scene in the background, looking a bit closer again, and this time with a bit more of a managed lock-up in towards Rockyton, not so much tyre smoke. This time on the brakes. Slightly wide through Peel was Dara Flock. You can see the car just starting to wash wide, I think in eagerness to get on the throttle. They both arrive at the corkscrew together. And Ben Colburn, he is playing this very patiently indeed. It's nice to see that he's not just lunging in, he's almost analysing Dara, figuring out where can I potentially go for that move. We see everybody tend to think about that up at Rockyton, but everybody else knows that, so you've got to get quite creative.
You do, yeah, and that's of course going to be following your opponent for so long. You gather data on them, where you're strong, where they're stronger, where you can really maximise, and you've really got to sort of be unpredictable more than anything. Just going through Church Bend, the 55 of Colburn looks very, very menacing in the rearview mirrors, of course, of Dara Flock, who might well have some trouble. It was a good run, fairly equally matched as they climb up the hill, but the slipstream, look at the closing speed that he's got now, closing and closing and closing, but again it's his teammate and they don't really want to risk a 1-2. It's not a high percentage chance yield move, it's sort of 40-60 as opposed to 80-20 going the way of Colburn, so he really needs to maximise these high yield opportunities as opposed to those sort of Daniel Ricciardo-esque moves.
Yeah, we'll wait and see as to exactly how that will play out. And the one thing I have found is it's very tricky to outbrake somebody, because you find that these Clio Cup Gen 5s are such an equaling car, and not necessarily saying irrespective of experience, but you can be very new to these cars or have a season or two under your belt, and they are quite easy to find the limit, which I think is what produces some fabulous racing, because all the drivers are on the absolute edge, and you see maybe on the brakes somebody thinking, oh well, I'll go for that move, but then you hit the brakes maybe slightly later than you think, and you're effectively matching the car up the road. It produces some very, very close racing, and if we can get more of those Phase 2 chassis into the UK, it's going to be a fabulous, fabulous series that we are creating.
I think so, because what we're seeing with just 5 cars is absolutely fantastic. A couple more competition into the limelight, and it's a fantastic championship to behold. 3 minutes 53 left on the clock. Very much is go-kart-esque though, isn't it? In the sense that you think you're close, and you go for the move, you try and outbrake them. But it's that thing that everyone's already on the limit of how hard you can brake, that any later and you're overshooting the corner, so, or locking the rears, as we saw Nicky Taylor do on a number of occasions when he tried to make some moves. So you really do have to be so careful with where you go for the moves, but it also allows for such aggression, which I think is why we're playing into some fantastic racing. 3 minutes 28 on the clock, by the way, so it'll be 2 minutes line, just maybe them straight to third. Again, it's going to be close. We'll see what it is, of course, across the line. It's going to need to be a 2:32 on the clock.
Yeah, no, I think we'll get another. They come through the final corner now, so 3 laps of this race still to go. Dara Flock remains in the lead, this time through 0.393 to 0.397, so an entire 0.004 of a difference. Has changed between Dara Flock and Ben Colburn. Nicky Taylor laps slightly slower than the pair of them and drops to 2.4 seconds back. Whereabouts is Ben Jenkins? Whereabouts is Ben Jenkins? He's not come through as of yet. We were expecting him through then, but he has still not come through. So Ben Jenkins, oh no, Ben Jenkins has come through, pardon me. Clearly, I'm not sure how I missed the Dayglow pink car come through, but Ben Jenkins has indeed come through. He's working his way through Church now and up towards Rocketing. Jeremy Evans is still out there, and again lapping very consistently indeed. There's very, very little fall off in Jeremy's driving, which is great to see. But Dara Flock doing everything he needs to in the lead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, Colburn's been there, don't get me wrong. So Flock has definitely dealt with the pressure quite nicely, but he's not fallen victim to, oh my goodness me, there's a car driver behind me, I'm going to constantly look over my shoulder. Because the moment you do that, even though they're behind, they're the ones with the high ground. So Flock has done a really good job as to focus forward, really pay attention to driving the car quickly as opposed to worrying about if he should defend or not. There, of course, is the gap. 2 laps left to go then with 1 minute 50 on the clock. Dara Flock, Ben Colburn, 1 and 2. Nicky Taylor dropping back ever so slightly in terms of pace, really struggling in the latter portion of this race.
Yeah, so we'll see as to how these final 2 laps will play out, and it's a good job it's nice that you mentioned about the sort of keeping an eye on that rear view mirror. You taught from a very young age, at least in my experience through karts, the race is only ever going to be in front of you. Don't worry what's going on behind you too much. Every now and then peer over your shoulder just to make sure you're all good. But yeah, for the most part, focus forward. The race is only ever going to be out the windscreen, and Dara Flock and Ben Colburn very much dealing with that and not seeing that maybe Nicky Taylor is there or thereabouts. Up towards Rocketing we go once again. Big lock-up and slightly sideways from Nicky Taylor. I have to say, fabulous to watch.
I have to say, you don't really know car control until you come with the front-wheel drive car, and that's exactly what Nicky Taylor's been doing in terms of getting that rear end sliding. He's getting the skill points at the very least. He's not quite maybe doing too much as his pace, but looks good. Getting some tyre smoke and a bit of opposite lock going. There, of course, is Jenkins in the 99, who again himself has run a really nice race. Again, it's P4 of a 5-car grid, so maybe at face value it's like, well, he's not on the podium, he's not involved in the lead fight. But the important thing is he's taking steps forward and forward, finding pace, finding consistency, and just getting track time, because that's going to be invaluable. And as the season develops, which they've still got a few more rounds to go in 2024. Give it a couple more rounds, he might be up there.
Yeah, you look at the pace that he's displaying at this stage in the race, he really is not far away at all. Ben Jenkins, it's great to see him really starting to improve, and now we may see a little move for Ben Colburn. A small look to the inside on the run in towards Church Corner. So he is closing is Ben Colburn, maybe slightly too far away. Jeremy Evans has gone yet faster again, and it has improved upon his personal fastest lap of the race, up towards Rocketing for the final time. Ben Colburn doesn't go for the move. Dara Flock leads them in to Rocketing, bounces over the curb, and then in a very rather sedate way, Nicky Taylor arrives at Rocketing. Not too much of a lock-up on the running at that time. So through the final corner comes Jeremy Evans to go on to what will be his final lap of the race. But Dara Flock through Peel for what will be the final time. And then flies downhill on the brakes, gets the car squared away for the corkscrew, and pitches the car into the right-hander before setting the car up for the final corner. down a gear for the final time. Out of the final corner comes Dara Flock, and he will win race 2 of Clio Cup GB here at Anglesey, chased to the line by Westbourne Motorsport teammate Ben Colburn, and Nicky Taylor rounds out your podium, shortly followed by Ben Jenkins, who showcased some fabulous pace throughout that race, finishing on the leader's pace at 1:17.722, only what 500ths away from what Dara Flock did on that very final lap of the race. So Ben Jenkins showcasing fabulous pace at the very latter stages of that race. And we've just got Jeremy Evans to come through. He's picking his way up through the exit of Rocket Out, then into Peel, the right-hander. Fabulous views in the background of the sea. And we'll hope that weather front that we mentioned will skip past us. Looking out the window, we might just be so lucky, but through the corkscrew for the final time comes Jeremy Evans. He pitches the car into the left at the final corner, lifts the inside rear wheel, and then towards the line comes Jeremy Evans, and he rounds out your top 5. So Dara Flock takes the win, having led effectively the majority of the race. So he will pick up some good points for that one. He'll take the 50 points for the race win, and of course all of the points gained for leading a lap. He will also get the 2 bonus points for the fastest lap of the race. Ben Colburn finishes in second and will leave here a very happy man indeed, further extending that championship lead over Dara Flock and Nicky Taylor, finishing on 42 points gained in that final race. And Nicky Taylor crossed the line to round out your podium, car number 17. Ben Jenkins crossed the line in 4th place, and Jeremy Evans rounds out your top 5. So great to see. Westbourne Motorsport 1-2. I'm sure that will go down very well at Westbourne HQ. And it's great to see that these Renault Clio Cup Gen 5 Phase 2s are really starting to produce some fabulous racing. 5 cars out there, but that does not leave us short of any racing quality at all. If we can get some more from Alpine and Renault, it would be great to see. And we are producing and continuing to improve what will be a very, very successful championship here in the UK. So we have a quick look out the window, or as close as we can get, and can't quite see anybody down there, but hopefully in a few moments time you'll be hearing from Zach and a number of our drivers.
Dara Flock, Ben Colburn and Nicky Taylor, the top 3 as they have been all weekend long. We'll give them a second just to cool off, because after a very difficult race like that, they must definitely need it. Let's put it that way. All the Clios looking fantastic in their own right. Of course, all coming over to maybe say their congratulations. Ben Colburn coming over to say well done to his teammate, and of course the race winner of Dara Flock, who we might have a word with first. Just depends if he wants to speak to us first. Here he is. He's got his helmet off. He's ready to go, and bit more of a smile after race 2 than race 1.
Yeah, it's a good race. Got past Ben after lap 2, and I just tried to keep it consistent from there, and yeah, I was able to do it.
Nicely done. And I mean, he didn't make it easy. He was all over you pretty much for the entire race, but where was your attention? Was it forwards, or was it worrying about what he's going to do behind you?
No, I was just trying to keep my head forward. You know, if you keep looking in your mirrors, you're going to be distracted. You're going to start making mistakes. So when you're in that position, you just have to keep going, pushing, and yeah, it's good.
Not the best of starts though. What happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm trying to figure out the start. I can't really figure it out, and then yeah, just got way too much wheel spin, and yeah, it wasn't too good.
Didn't matter in the end. You were able to get him. Was it a nice move? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, it is a good move. He got a bad exit onto the straight, and then I just went back by him, and yeah, he didn't really battle it, so I was happy with that.
Couple of good results for this weekend, then best of luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and also thanks to the team. You know, they put a good car together, and I'm looking forward to the next one at Snet.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Dara, and best of luck for the rest of the season. Of course, what we'll do is we'll move our way through, potentially grab the next driver. P2, of course, went the way of Ben Colburn, so I might go and see if I can just grab him very quickly. Ben, can we have a quick word, mate, because that was an absolutely fantastic race from your side. Not quite the win, but you kept him honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, congratulations to Dara. I mean, go a great race, and yeah, it's just, you know, points win prizes at the end of the day of the championship. So, you know, second's still not a bad thing at all.
So pace-wise for you, I mean, was it a case of can't overtake him or won't overtake him? Were you just happy to sit in second?
I think after, you know, both Nicky and Dara have today now finished third in both races. So yeah, at that point, I knew Dara was obviously defending quite well as well. So actually, just the points were good enough for today.
What's the plan for the rest of the season then? More wins?
Well, always got to try. Always got to try.
Awesome stuff. Best of luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. That is, of course, P2, Ben Colburn. I think finally we'll have a chat with Nicky Taylor. He's having a quick drink, chat with the team, but we're going to come annoy him. P3, I mean, it was a good initial start, and then turn 1 happened.
Yeah, the start was mint, and then it wasn't. So, yeah, that was eventful, but kind of just got away well, and then don't really know what happened. Either cold rears or something just sent the car flying off. And then, yeah, just tried to make my way back, and yeah, just a bit of a meh race.
I mean, the pace was good in the mid-section. I mean, you were closing in bit by bit. I mean, I think it was just a case you were waiting for a battle that didn't happen at the front, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did kind of think it was going to be the same sort of battle as what it was in the first race, but then Dara and Ben just seemed to work together better in this race and just seemed to roll over and let each other do their own thing. But yeah, it is what it is, and we've got more pace, and Snetterton's next, so home track, so we'll be right at the front again.
Bring it home, of course. And have you sorted out the brake bias issues? Are you happy with where the car's at?
Thought I did, but that race says otherwise, so going to have a look at it, but it shouldn't be too much of a worry.
Best of luck, thanks for chatting, and good luck. Well done this weekend, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Cool, cheers.
Awesome stuff. Well, back to you guys in the commentary box as we're about to get going for the Boxster Cup.
Brilliant. Cheers, Zach. Yeah, great to hear from our top 4, effectively, in the Clio Cup GB Championship. So next out, we've got one of your favourites, Paul.
Oh, very, very much so. I think I'm totally biased there, stood here and actually in a Porsche Club Motorsport T-shirt. But yeah, it is the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. So exactly what it says on the tin. It is a field of identical Boxsters out there, all on treaded Pirelli tyres. This is a second 25-minute race of the day. We had a cracking race earlier on. I know it's a cliche to say action all up and down the field, but there pretty much was. We had a great lead battle. We had battles for the podium. We had battles down the top 10. We had someone storming through from the back of the grid. It was a hectic 25 minutes that absolutely flew by. And yeah, we get to do it all again.
We do indeed, and we hear Ryan Charters. We get treated to another one of his comeback drives.
It was, yeah. I haven't got the finishing order in front of me. I think he got back to about 8th, as I recall.
Yeah.
Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7th on my notes. So fantastic drive with a 10-second penalty to finish. I think we said he was 16 seconds off the lead at the end.
Down to 14.
Even better, yeah. So, and that was overtaking a host of cars, all of which would have compromised each lap that he did that on. So fantastic performance. Obviously, really fired up from getting sent back there for an incident in qualifying. So that's going to be the car to watch for, car 11 from the back of the grid. But at the front, we've got Wayne Gregory, won that first race from Perry Darling. And of course, in third place, taking her first podium, we had Sarah Thompson. So we know Sarah can be quick around here. We can know Sarah can overtake on here. I think she's back on the third row again, which is where she started race 1. But we just have so much to watch out for this time around.
Yeah, Sarah had a very busy race 1, but it was a very successful race 1 indeed. I'm also looking forward to seeing what Faye Noble-Evans can do, because a slightly hampered start to her race, obviously with that small incident. But this time, hopefully less of that, and let's see what she can do.
That's right, yeah. She was actually running with Sarah and got tapped into a spin or got caught up in an incident, as you say. We didn't quite clearly see it ourselves. So that car number 20 in the distinctive pink and black wrap, Faye Noble-Evans, was actually third in the championship last year, leading lady in the championship in 2023. But I think this is her third season now, so getting quite a bit of experience on there. But yeah, she's going to want to actually pull some points back on this one.
Yeah, absolutely so. So we've got another 25-minute race on the way for the Boxster Cup before we head into the lunch break. So we've got plenty of action left in effectively what is in inverted commas this morning, and then
yes, because technically we haven't had the lunch break as it's been amusingly labelled on the timetable yet.
And then we break for lunch, and then we've only got 24 hours to go. Exactly 24 hours of Enduro KA racing later on this afternoon and into this evening.
That's right. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough actually to commentate on the Enduro KAs before, and I found them an absolute hoot, to be quite honest. I did a 5-hour lap at Alton Park, and it was a cracking lap. They have tyres that appear to last forever.
Was that when my dad's blew up?
I don't think your dad was in that one.
Okay.
Not that I
No.
recall, to be quite honest. I'm sure I'd have mentioned
He's
it.
had 2 cracks at that. One of them he finished, and the other one the car blew up. So I always try and clear up which one it was to decide whether I can have a dig or not. But yeah, they never leave you short of action. They're brilliant to watch.
They are. They were really good fun, and really good fun to commentate on. And yeah, for 24 hours, you know, there's already, if we look over our shoulder, teams down in the paddock still practicing pit stops, pit stop routines and pit stop changing, because of course they will be fueling these cars.
Yeah.
They are, say, 1300cc CAS, and yeah, I've actually used to have one, to be quite honest. They were a great fun vehicle to drive around. Probably one of the few cars I've ever drove that almost felt over-engined. You know, because they don't weigh anything. They were so sprightly on the road. I actually went down to Le Mans in 2001 for the week.
Yeah.
To actually, I drove down one, and I